penalties that will be associated with non-compliance and wherever there is a data breach or data leaks that are happening. Even without the DPDP being enforced, a lot of the regulations still existed before DPDP. And if you think about like some of the news articles that have recently come up, there are a lot of financial implications, even without DPDP, that has to be incurred by companies. Without taking too many names, there are, even in 2024, I think we have surpassed all previous data breaches. That is the one aspect. One very important aspect which was covered again by the panel, that is about brand reputation, about customer trust. So it is not just a financial motivation to take care of the PII. It's also important for companies to maintain the trust relationship with their customers. This slide kind of talks about what the fines and the financial aspects of the law. So how does it look like from the back end? Like we were all talking about data. So, and in the kind of perspective of PII, if you think about PII, it comes through the front end. You go through your load balancers, you go through your application databases, we go through some kind of an ETL, then you have all the data warehouses and the data lakes. So essentially, PII is present everywhere. And we all know that we always leak some kind of data in the logs. Now, if you think about it, we have created a massive problem for us. And that's why if you look at the kind of security landscape today, companies are signing up for more than 40 tools in some cases, spending millions of dollars to protect their data. Our viewpoint is that there is a simpler solution. There is a much less expensive solution. And there is a fundamental truth here that even after spending so much of money, even after being compliant, companies are still going through data breaches. So we have not solved it, even after spending so much money. So let's quickly go through how we are trying to solve it. So, like if you look at the previous slide, the data is everywhere. So like if you have your gold and your jewelry spread across like your home, your relative's home, everywhere, it will be very hard to manage it, to have access control on top of it, to actually use it when you need to use it. So centralizing the data makes sense, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. You also have to protect it. As soon as you put your valuables like in a bank vault, they have to have the highest standards so that they can protect the data. And we talked a lot about governance already today, that it is very important to enforce who can use what part of data and in what, what is the use case they are trying to solve. So as a whole, Skyflow is trying to put all of this together in the concept what we are calling as a data privacy vault. Very quickly, there was a time where passwords were being saved as plain text in the databases. Then people graduated to using encrypted versions of passwords or hashed versions of passwords. But then either they were not able to protect it properly or they were breaking use cases, right? You had to take care of password rotation. You had to make sure that you are not using like your older passwords again. So now we have graduated to identity clouds and password managers, and nobody really worries about their passwords that much. It's the same concept. What we are saying is PII data is should be a class of its own. It should be treated differently, and it should exist in the data privacy vault. That actually solves the PII sprawl problem, and it makes governance, protection a lot easier. So in some sense, the problem statement becomes different when you have data in a vault rather than your data being sprinkled across your analytics data warehouses or your different versions of SQL databases and document data stores. What does it mean? That it's not a completely new idea. So this idea has existed in the financial world. A lot of the banks have a version of the vault internally, like a digital vault for their data. Companies like Apple, if you think about it, they were selling the notion of data privacy as a feature long before any of these laws came into existence. So you will never see these companies on the front page of the newspaper with a data breach or data violation article. So there is a fundamental difference in how to protect the data, and if you do it the right way, you save a lot of headache later. So I love this slide, though it might be a lot of things there. One of the reasons is we did not build this slide. This was actually published in an IEEE journal, that the right architecture to solve the data privacy, data security problem is the data privacy vault, and they put it in the architecture. So the top actually shows you kind of what exists without a data privacy vault and what can happen with a data privacy vault. This is just another view of how complicated the backend can look like, where you are trying to protect the data somewhat, and all your microservices, they have some copies of it. You are trying to encrypt portion of it. You are trying to say that, oh, I don't want to look at the plain text data. I want to have a token somewhere. It looks very messy, and that's kind of the idea, that if you actually go into data privacy vault concept, it looks cleaner. So it is, and once it is visually cleaner, it is actually easier to protect and manage the data. So let's quickly talk about how we are kind of doing the security part. So one is absolutely zero trust architecture. Our complete solution is built on zero trust architecture, and I believe a lot of the industry is adopting it because of its benefits. We also came up with something called polymorphic encryption. This is a patented technology that we have, which, so if you think about data, and once you kind of encrypt the data, so encryption and tokenization are the two first things people do. But as soon as you encrypt the data or tokenize the data, business use cases break. So the whole idea behind polymorphic encryption is to protect the data without breaking any of the business use cases. How do we do it? Is all data is actually always encrypted in Skyflow, and we have figured out how to do queries on top of encrypted data, which is also performant. So we, like a lot of you probably have toyed with the homomorphic encryption and some of its equivalents. So they are great conceptually, but they are also not able to give you answers in real time, or for many of the business use cases, it has still not been used. We came up with the idea of breaking down the data and encrypting it in different ways, and tokenizing it in different ways, and actually not breaking any of the business use cases. So another very interesting thing to note here is, say you are going to run some analytics on your users. Maybe you just need the year of, from the date of birth, you just need the year of their birth and not the exact date and month. On the other hand, if you are going to send out, say, a birthday card, you just need to know their month and date and not the year. So what it turns out is, a lot of the times, you don't need the actual PII data, and many of the times you only need part of the PII data. So like when you are doing an SSN verification, you just need the last 4, and you just don't even need to look at the last 4 digits, you just need to do a comparison. So we have encapsulated all of this in something called polymorphic encryption, where you are able to perform all the business use cases and in encrypted data. So when I say encrypted data, it is like encrypted at runtime, not just at rest. We also have seen that tokens are, there is a need for different kinds of tokenization. Sometimes you need to have the data, like say emails. Sometimes you want different emails, even if it is your, like your employee's email or like your family member's email. Even for different columns, you sometimes need the same token. Sometimes you want it to be different. So there are like format preserving tokens. There is like tokens with TTLs on it, like something like a CVV number. So there is a whole bunch of use cases around, again, not breaking the pattern. Like your ML pipelines can verify that the email looks like an email. If you just put numbers in it, your analytics pipeline will fail. So without breaking any of the kind of data pipelines, this kind of problem is solved. So I'll not go through the exact details of this slide. So, but the main idea here is that all of it has to be together. So when we talk about governance, or when we talk about these analytical use cases, as soon as you put the data and the governance in different places, we have a lot of governance solutions which are sitting on top of your databases separately. There is always backdoors and there is always side doors. So, so the solution around the vault is basically putting all of these things together. Let's quickly take a minute to talk about GenAI. I know we are running out of time. So this is a hot topic, and in very shortly, LLMs don't have a delete button. So once the data goes in, the risk of that model is very high. So what we are saying is we can act as a privacy filter on top of the GenAI models or LLMs, and then we can protect your LLMs for without the PII. So be it the training use cases or be it the interactions that happen. So we'll probably, since we are out of time, so we'll quickly wrap up. Just to give you kind of the background of the company, we started in 2019. We are 5 years into it. We have picked up like $100 million in revenue. Our latest round was led by Khosla Ventures. They are also putting a lot of effort into GenAI and OpenAI. This is a quick snapshot of. Let's quickly talk about this. So we are present across the world. We are trying to protect the data globally. The very interesting thing is, since we are solving the problem from the first principles and the fundamental problems there, we don't have to really tweak the solution to make sure that we are following all the compliance of the various different global regulations that are coming up. So the fun part is, if you solve the fundamental problem, it turns out we are able to satisfy all the compliance globally. So with that, thank you so much.